Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpada Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badharayanam Sutrabhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Samasta Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahmavidvaram Sadgurum Brahmavidvaram Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti 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 Sarva Vedanta Siddha Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Sadgurum Pranatosmyaham. Hari. We saw in the last class the sixth discipline of the Shamadhi Shakka Sampatti, the sixfold wealth of six values. Sarvada Stapanam Buddhehe Shuddhe Brahmani Sarvada Tat Samadhanam Iti Yuktam Natu Chittasya Lalanam. Placing the mind in pure Brahman and not letting the mind wander, that is called Samadhanam, focus of the mind. So with that, the discussion on the third qualification of the sadhana chatushtaya is over. Then in the next verse, ahankaradi dehantan bandhan ajnana kalpitan swaswarupa avabodhena moktumicha mumokshata. So we discussed the fourth qualification, mumukshutvam, otherwise called as mumokshutah, desire for liberation. There are three aspects to defining mumokshutah. Number one, bondage. Bondage is the identification starting with the ego and down to the body. Number two, that is caused by ignorance. And therefore, number three, it is removed by knowing the real nature of oneself. Thus, he condensed the huge topic, the whole Vedanta, in these 2 lines. I introduce you to the different levels of this desire. Tivra, intense, madhyama, mediocre, and manda, dull. Now let us see more of this today. We will begin with verse 28. Mandamadhyamarupapi, Mandamadhyamarupapi, Vairagyena samadhina, Vairagyena samadhina, Prasadena guroseyam, Prasadena guroseyam, Pravriddha suyate phalam. Pravriddha suyate phalam. Mandamadhyamarupapi vairagyena samadhina. Prasadena guroseyam. Pravriddha suyate phalam. So far, all the 4 qualifications have been enumerated. And even though all the 4 are important, what is the most important of the 4? So among them, Shankaracharya says, Mumukshutvam is the most important one. The desire for moksha makes you a spiritual seeker. That is not there, then also you can study Vedanta. But you will not be a spiritual seeker. You will only be an academic scholar trying to figure out what Shankaracharya says, what Ramanujacharya says, or what Madhvacharya says. All that. It will become an intellectual exercise. Therefore, whether the study is an academic pursuit or a spiritual pursuit, the difference is in the motive. The difference is mumukshutvam. And so that becomes very important for a spiritual aspirant. Another reason that Shankaracharya gives is, suppose a person has an intense mumukshutvam, even if the other qualifications are less, they're not as strong. Because of the intense desire, he will do anything and accomplish that goal by hook or crook, as we say. Yenakena prakarena, by one method or the other. Once the desire for moksha becomes intense, then the person, if viveka is lacking, he will fill it up. Vairagyam is lacking, he will figure out a way to enhance it. Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti is lacking, he will make up. Therefore, he is ready to sacrifice anything for the sake of moksha. The mumukshutvam is not that intense. The approach for Vedanta will also be casual. Then the excuses for missing the classes will become more and more, easier and easier. Simple thing is, the more intense the desire, more you are ready for undergoing any amount of physical trouble, any trouble for that matter. Therefore, he says all other qualifications will be made up if mukshutvam is there. So he says, mumukshuta manda madhyama rupa api. Even though it is of these forms, suppose the desire for liberation is manda, dull, very feeble, or madhyama, mediocre. Even that mumukshutvam, pravriddha, will gradually become more and more because of vairagyena samadhina. As vairagyam becomes more and more, mumukshutvam will also become more and more. Therefore, mumukshutvam is directly proportional to vairagyam. Just like when a person has a serious disease, he will go and pray to the Lord also, and also take to various doctors and treatment. We find that as even the doors are getting closed, the surrender to the Lord becomes more and more intense. When all the doors are closed, then his bhakti becomes Gajendra Bhakti, Draupadi Bhakti. We had seen that in the Mahabharata story. She was crying out for help from all people, and finally she reached out to the Lord. This is called utter Sharanagati. Similarly, Vairagyam means other doors for security are closed. Not that the worldly things will give me fullness and such. And as I experience more and more, I come to know that the so-called doors are not there. They're all fake. Towards moksha will become more and more. Thus, vairagyena, because of the increase in vairagyam and samadhina, because of the increase, etc. Shama and the rest of the six virtues, the third qualification, the mumukshutvam will get enriched. And this is just about every one of our personal story also. When we started the study, it was not that intense. But as years go by, we are devoting more and more time. I know even in this group, there are people who are attending 4 classes a week. Some of them 5. It happens. So slowly the intensity will increase. Our attention that was focused on other things will become less and less important. It happens. So above all, he adds one more thing. Guroho prasadena cha. Not only by your own individual effort, but also because of the grace of the teacher. The philosophy becomes a religion. In an academic pursuit of Vedanta, a student is not going to have Guru Bhakti in a spiritual sense. Let us say if someone is pursuing a PhD in Vedanta, he may have a guide, but his attitude, is it the same as one who is pursuing PhD in physics or chemistry? Yes. It will be no different. It's only the subject matter is different because it's an academic pursuit. But once you have a Guru Kripa, then my attitude is totally different. This is not an academic pursuit, it's a spiritual pursuit. Just as I have devotion to the Lord, yasya deve para bhaktihi, yata deve tata gurau, tasya ite katita hyartah, prakashante mahatmanah. Two things will make Vedanta clear to the student. Deve parabhakti, an intense devotion towards the Lord, and the same intense devotion to the Guru. He does not differentiate between God and Guru. This will not be there in a university setting. That is the difference. So, Guroho prasadena, with the grace of the Guru is a sincere well-wisher that the Shishya should gain this knowledge. That wish is fulfilled by the Lord through the Guru. The teacher's grace is nothing but a recommendation letter to God. Not that he recommends and writes a letter. That sincere wish of a pure heart will make it fructify. And therefore, Guroho prasadena Saiyam, this referring to the dull or mediocre mokshata, pravriddha bhavati. The desire will become more and more intense by the grace of the Guru and the Lord. When it is tivra mokshutvam, it will phalam suyate, produce the result for Vedantic study. It will produce moksha. Continuing. Vairagyam cha mumokshutvam. Vairagyam cha mumokshutvam. Tivram yasya tu vidyate. Tivram yasya tu vidyate. Tasminnevartavantasyuh. Tasminnevartavantasyuh. Palavanta samadayah. Samadayah. Vairagyam cha mumukshutvam. Tivram yasya tu vidyate. Tasminnevartavantasyuh. Palavanta shamadayah. In the previous shloka, number 28, Shankaracharya chose one among the four qualifications. Suppose he is asked to choose two among the four. Which will be the two? He chooses Vairagyam and Mumukshutvam. If one has Vairagyam, dispassion, detachment, then the Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti will come very easily. Concentration is easy for anything which I love. Parents and even children complain these days, they do not have concentration in studies. They don't have the ability to concentrate anymore. That's not true. Every one of us has the ability to concentrate. So the only question is, in what? All of us can concentrate on what we love. We can get absorbed in those things that we have extreme interest. We will not be aware of anything else. This kind of concentration is directly proportional to the interest that I have, the love that I have. And therefore, if mumukshutvam is intense, mind control is very easy. Sense control is so easy. Uparati, very, very easy. Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti is effortless. Therefore, he says, dispassion and intense desire for liberation. Dispassion from all other things and the desire for moksha are tivram, intense. Yasya tu vidyate. The one for whom this is true, tasmin eva arthavantaha syuh. In the case of that person only, the other qualifications, shamadayah phalavantah, beginning with shama, control of mind, and all the others, will become fruitful, phalavantah. Only when vairagyam and mukshutvam are there, then Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti will follow. And all of them will produce the result being moksha. So the validation of the relevance of the Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti is possible only when they are backed by vairagyam and mumukshutvam. So for this reason only, in the olden days, they made Vedanta the least available thing in the world. This knowledge was considered a secret, should not be given to everyone. Not because it was a secret or anything. They were not discriminating. Saying if people do not have the adequate qualifications, the phalam will not be there. Therefore, very rare people, those sannyasis, who have demonstrated great dispassion, they were the right people. Sannyasis never came down to the world. Suppose it is made easily available. Anybody can have casual interest also. When it was so difficult to get to, no one came to study. And there was fear of Vedanta itself going away from the face of the earth. Therefore, we have to compromise. We have made it more available. Swami Chinmaya has made it more available. Before that, not many people, only very few. Those whosoever gravitated towards that, they sought. Like Puja Gurudev himself did. So much difficulty. But then the compassion he had for humanity, I should make this available to everyone. Even though in the 17th chapter there is a verse, this knowledge should be given to the appropriate recipient. Patram should be ready for that. That is said in the Gita. But Puja Gurudev said it a little bit differently. Make it available. Okay? If that patram is not ready, that will drop off by itself. But at least you make it available. And in certain cases, the ones who are on the borderline, they may get more intense as we grow once the exposure is given. And that is also true. Most of us would probably fall under that category. Somehow or other, we have by chance only, not any grand design. We didn't have Tibra Mumukshutvam in this, started pursuing this. No. Every one of us, if you sit down, ask, how did you get started in this study? Like that only. So many examples are there. Sometimes a young man takes his grandmother to listen to this. And once in a while, instead of dropping her and coming back an hour later, he says, okay, let me just sit here, listen. What's going on? And after some time, he starts getting interested. Otherwise, he didn't really have any interest. So, like that, you ask everybody. That is also there. So, we have made it more available with the hope that who can develop Vairagya and Mumukshutvam will make progress and reach the final goal. Now, with the current advancement in technology, we are making it available worldwide. But then, now suppose an example. There is a person who says, I will not accept any bribe. I'm not a corrupt man. Then comes someone and offers, let us say, $10,000. Offers him bribe of $10,000. He says, keep your $10,000 with you. Do you think you can buy me for $10,000? Good. Self-control is good. The other man says, how about $15,000? You think I'm a commodity and you're bargaining? How about 50K? You get out of here. $1 million? I told you, you're wasting my time. Not like any other person who is a price with which I can be bought. What about $5 million? Let me think. And what happened? Up to this, very good. The amount goes on rising. If his vairagyam and mumukshutvam still intact and his ideal that he should live up to that is good, he would have continued. It's not very strong. So the other man has now understood. How will you give me the money? Now we get into the details. Oh, whatever you say, wherever you say. Can you put it in a Swiss bank? Yes. Don't think I'm going to tell you a spicy story. That's another story. The point is dispassion is not total. Can be compromised. We don't have to give someone's example. Each one of us, we think we can deal with the exciting, fascinating, glamorous world. What is the level of dispassion we have towards it? We need to be careful. When mumukshutvam is strong and vairagyam is strong, then this control will become easy, will be real. If not, he says, next verse. एतयोर्मन्दता यत्र एतयोर्मन्दता यत्र विरक्तत्वमुमुक्षयोः विरक्तत्वमुमुक्षयोः मरौ सलिलवत्तत्र मरौ सलिलवत्तत्र क्षमादेर्भाणमात्रता क्षमादेर्भाणमात्रता एतयोर्मन्दता यत्र विरक्तत्वमुमोक्षयोः मरौ सलिलवत्तत्र क्षमादेर्भानमात्रता. The same idea as in the previous shloka, but put in a negative language. The previous shloka, it was said, where Vairagyam and Mokshutvam are there alone Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti will become fruitful. So this is a positive statement. Now he presents it in a negative form. Where Vairagyam and Mumukshutvam are not there in that person, even if he has Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti, and concentration is there, intelligence is there, all these qualifications are there, but they are like mirage water. Therefore, etayoho mandatayatra, there where or in whom, if these two, what two? Vairagyam and mumukshutvam, where they are feeble. Viraktatva mumukshayoho. Viraktatva means vairagyam, dispassion, and mumuksha, a passion for moksha, that is passion for anatma and passion for atma, where these two are manda, dull. Tatra, there, shamadehe bhanamatrata. In him, only the mere appearance of the Shamadhi Shatka qualification is there. Marau salilavat, like mirage water in dry land. The disciplines appear to be there, but they are fruitless. Just as you cannot take bath in the mirage water, you cannot get moksha through mere Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti. So make sure you are a seeker. Then alone it will become a spiritual pursuit. Do not be carried away by your mere Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti. Always check out your Vairagyam and Mokshutva and work on them. When you work on Vairagyam, Shamadhi Shatka, Mumukshutvam will be perfect. As you watch your Shama, Dama, Uparama, Titiksha, do not mark yourself strong. Do not be complacent. I got this. How long? They will stay. That is something to watch. If Vairagyam is not strong enough, however much Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti is practiced, one day it will break. For our friend, it was $5 million. The true sublimation of the mind happens through Vairagya. So we will know Vairagyam is successful if Mukshutvam is strong. Then Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti will also be. So when we check the status of Vairagyam and Mumukshutvam, then we will know the true status of our Shamadama, etc. also. How will I know the status of my Vairagya? If the entire world appears as a mere straw or a speck of dust, is it still holding some attraction for you? If it does not, then you know your Vairagyam is strong. You do not have Ragadvesha, likes and dislikes, for the objects of the world. That's the litmus test. Then mumukshutvam, how much desire for God? How much desire for God realization? How much desire for self-realization? Whatever term you use. How strong is it? Check them out and don't be carried away by Shamadhi Shakti Sampatti. Now, here, while reading these three verses, especially verse 28 and 30, there is a seeming contradiction which you should carefully understand. In the 28th verse, Bhashyakara had said that Manda Mumukshutvam, even a feeble desire for liberation, which is not very intense, Manda Madhyama Rupapi, Suyate Palam, will produce the result. This was the idea conveyed in the 28th verse. But in the 30th verse, he says, Yetayoho yetra mandata, the two dull and mediocre desire for liberation. Marau salilavate, like mirage waters, cannot produce the desired result. The 28th verse, the statement is, even a dull mumukshutvam is saphalam, will produce the result. But in the 30th verse, the statement is, dull mumukshutvam is nishpalam, futile. It will not produce result. The word nishpalam was not used, but marau shalilavat, which means as good as fruitless. So the question comes, how can Shankaracharya contradict himself in these three verses? For that, we say there is no contradiction. See closely, the 28th verse, he has put a condition for the feeble mumukshutvam to be fruitful. And in the 30th verse, that condition is not mentioned. So the feeble mumukshutvam is fruitful if the condition was, it will be futile on. What is the condition? The 28th verse, he has used the word pravriddha, nourished. That is the crucial word. In the 30th verse, the word pravriddha is not mentioned. Therefore, it means what? It is apravriddha. It is not nourished. So now, what are the two statements? The feeble mumukshutvam is fruitful when it is nourished, strengthened, and eventually it is made tivra mumukshu. In the 30th verse, it is said the feeble mumukshutvam is worthless if not nourished and continues to be very casual and feeble. The final lesson is when feeble mumukshutvam comes, be happy but don't be complacent. Do not be relaxed. Ensure what starts out as feeble, that grows. Nourish it. Like when a plant sprouts, it needs a lot of support. If you provide all the support it needs, then it will grow to a nice plant. It may become a huge tree also. Therefore, mumukshutvam is important, and when it is nourished well, it will yield the result promised. So we have to be aware. We have to be alert. We study this and we are intelligent enough. And still, when it comes to our living, it is not that easy. Not that very simple. Said in Kathopanishad, the path of spirituality is like walking on razor's edge. It's not an easy cakewalk. Do not take it lightly. This study is not for intellectual gratification. Many people do not like Shankaracharya because he's really firm and strong. Again and again he says, you renounce everything. People do not like that. Vairagyam should be strong. They want great results. How to strengthen Vairagya? How to get more and more intense Vairagya? How to strengthen it? How to nourish it? And get the intended results. He says, मोक्षकारणसामग्र्यां मोक्षकारणसामग्र्यां भक्तिरेव गरीयसी भक्तिरेव गरीयसी स्वस्वरूपानुसन्धानम् स्वस्वरूपानुसन्धानम् भक्तिरिति अभिधीयते भक्तिरिति अभिधीयते मोक्षकारणसामग्र्यां भक्तिरेव गरीयसी स्वस्वरूपानुसन्धानम् भक्तिरित्यभिधीयते. So here Bhashyakara introduces another important sadhana in addition to sadhana chatushtaya sampatti. Another preparatory step is introduced, and that is bhakti. The word bhakti is very confusing because it has so many meanings and interpretations. We have to understand the word bhakti clearly. One meaning, which is the popular meaning, is bhakti is the love of God, which is generally called devotion. Here, bhakti is presented as a sadhana. That means something you practice. I have to do something. The love of God is not something you do. I am doing love of God every day from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. So when do you do the love of your child? And what is it that you do? Love is something you enjoy throughout. It is not an action. Therefore, bhakti as an attitude that you enjoy means love of God. Here we are not talking about bhakti as an attitude we enjoy, but as a sadhana. What does bhakti mean? If a particular action pursuit means bhakti, what is that bhakti? So when we talk about bhakti as a sadhana, we should understand it does not refer to any particular action, but as sadhana, bhakti refers to a series of spiritual disciplines. Therefore, what does it mean? He says the series consists of 3 levels of disciplines, 3 stages of spiritual practices, known as karma, upasana, and jnanam. Karma, upasanam, and jnanam. So, bhakti is a series of spiritual disciplines. First, karma, otherwise, karma yoga. Second is upasana, which I called as samadhi yoga. And finally, jnanam or scriptural study. Here, karma yoga is also called bhakti because it is doing our duties as a dedication to the Lord. Then upasanam is also called bhakti because it involves focusing our mind on the Lord. Finally, scriptural study also is called bhakti because in that I inquire who is God, what is his function, what is his nature, what is my relation to him. This series of sadhanas put together is a means to moksha, and all the three are indispensable. There is no question of a choice between the three because each one involves a love of God and has its own contribution. Those of you who studied Bhagavad Gita with me, the 12th chapter, Bhakti Yoga, we talked about this. So, what Karma Yoga contributes, what Upasanam contributes, and Jnana Yoga contributes. And the others cannot. What Upasanam contributes, the other two can. What Jnana Yoga does, and the other two do not. You have to very clearly understand. All of them are important. All of them are indispensable. You cannot pick and choose. You don't have to compare them. There is no competition, which is superior, which is easier, nothing like that. So we will see more about the role of bhakti as a means to moksha. We'll do that in the next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Pur Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha Harihi Om